Hi, I'm Steve Miller. Welcome to this latest video of how I use DxO Photolab to edit my photos. I just thought I'd bit of an update on the channel really. I'm just gonna, from now on, I think I'm just gonna try and do one video a week. When I first started the channel, I didn't really set out to make that big a channel for tutorials, but it's sort of grown a bit. So some months I've been doing sort of 8 videos in a month, and I'm going to run out of stuff to do really, so I just thought I'd limit it now. And as I work through my photos, I do take quite a lot of photos. I'll just show you in my library. These are my work. I always have a working folder. These are images that I still have to process yet. I haven't processed all my images, so I just thought as I go through my images, I'll pick a couple out and I'll just do a quick edit. Hopefully there'll be ones that I can show you things that I haven't already shown you. So that's just the idea going forward. I'm always open to suggestions as well. If you have any suggestions of what I'd like to see me do in the videos, I can always think about doing them for you. Right, this is the first image, wildlife image. Most of my images are wildlife images, so I'll just have to put up with that. That's what I do mainly. So this is a roe deer I saw early one morning. What I liked about this, I mean, it's a few corrections on there that comes in automatically. That is straight out of camera. That is how it looks straight out of camera. When I do my import, I'll just show you what has been. If you go over here, if you click on this icon here, it'll show you what has actually been used in this edit. So these are things that have been used as I've first opened this image. So it's put a bit of smart lighting on, does the vignette. I'll just show you out the smart lighting. So without the smart lighting, it's like that. But so these are just a few things that do come in automatically. I add a little bit of vibrance to all them images. So the HSL's open there, the colour rendering. The denoising comes in, lens sharpness, chromatic aberration, geometry is just the auto crop, distortions, there's nothing in the effects or in the local adjustments. So they're just things that do come in. So like I said, normally I'd have the smart lighting on. You can see that has made quite a bit of difference there. So that's why I usually use the smart lighting. If I just slide that up and down, you can see what sort of difference it makes. What I liked this morning when I saw this roe deer, the grass it looked silver to me. It was, there was hardly any colour in the grass really because of all the dew, and that's what I'm trying to sort of replicate in the image. So to start off with, I would just look at the exposure. So say I've put a little bit of smart lighting. Is that looking quite good? And now I'll look, and there's a couple of ways you can do with the exposure. If you look on the histogram over this side, you can see we've got a bit of space this side, the highlight side of the histogram and the shadow side. So there's a couple of ways you could do that. We could use it with a selective tone. So I could just up the highlights, and if you do watch the histogram, you'll just see them highlights it's stretching the histogram out for me. And then you could do the same with the blacks, and it'd just put a bit more, so it's just adding a bit of contrast to the image. So that's one way you could do it. You can also, like, if you wanted, you could tweak the mid-tones. And the other way is you can come down, you can use the tone curve, which is a similar sort of thing really, but you just work in a different way. This is your histogram. So I always use the Luma curve, not the RGB, because it'll just add too much colour to your image if you start using the RGB, the curve. So I always use the Luma curve just for doing the exposure. And it's just, you can just if you just go down here, you can slide this pointer just towards the histogram just to lift the highlights, and you can do the same with the blacks, and that is just adding a bit of contrast to the image. I do have the highlights and the shadow warnings on when I'm doing this. Now I've done that, I don't really need this side of the palettes. I can close them palettes down, give you a bit more, something better to look at. I always like to work with a margin round, not something that DxO Photolab, it doesn't let you set that. If you go on to the into this setting, it always zoom to fit, all this takes you tight up to the frame, which I don't like. I like to have a bit of a margin round, so I always zoom out a little bit when I'm working on the images. Right, so next thing for this image, I would just do a bit of a crop. See how that's put me back into that where I didn't want to be, but I'll just crop that down a bit. I was just looking, just want to get rid of these bright spots here really. It could always go in a bit tighter with the crops or something like that. Now I'm looking at the colours. I have actually edited this image before, so I know this is what I wanted to show you really on this, and it's not, don't be afraid to use a different colour rendering. You can go through, and this is what I have it set to come in. I have the generic rendering for my camera profile, which is the OM1, but don't be afraid to look at other rendering. You can go, and I know I've used it quite a lot before on my wildlife images, especially roe deer, and it's, if you go through, you can just sort of scroll through these just to see what they're doing for you. Most of them you wouldn't use, but I do know that I have used the Kodak Portrait 160 before, which I quite like, so I did think for this image it did look quite good. So I'd just go in, I just think the colours look nicer with that colour, with the colour profile or the rendering intent there. Now we'll start looking at I'll just turn the highlight warnings off now, they can be a bit distracting. Now we're looking at what I'm trying to do for this image. I want the deer to stand out from the background. As you can see, it's a very similar colour. If I go into the HSL wheel, there's probably a lot of reds in them grasses. So if I knock the reds down, yeah, you can see, but also it's desaturated the deer as well. So I'm going to have to work separately. I want to try and sort of separate the deer from the background. So what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to go into the local adjustments, and for this one I am going to use an animal mask for the deer. And then for the background I'm just going to use a graduated filter. I'm just going to bring that down, and then I'm going to subtract. I know it doesn't sound right, but if you do you add a sub mask, and then you can subtract whatever you want from that graduated filter. So I'm going to subtract that from it. So that should give me a good mask to work with for the background. This is where I'm going to do, I might be able to, well I will be able to take some of the reds out of them grasses at the background. So if I just knock the saturation down, the reds, might even knock the luminance down slightly of them grasses in the background. If I go to uniformity, that sends things more to the red side. This will take your reds towards green, so I'm just going to knock that more towards the green, and it's just subdued that red, so that the deer has started to sort of pop out a bit from the background. Also I can do for them grasses, I can knock the highlights down, so I'll just knock them highlights down on them grasses, and I might even go and just cool the background down a bit with the white balance. And I'm even going to not a bit too much, take the exposure down slightly. So we'll leave that at that for now, and then we'll go to our mask that we've done for the deer, and this is where I'll just add a bit of micro contrast to the deer. I might even put a little bit of clear view plus in there, just to that sort of lift contrast. And now on the deer, it does still look a little bit red, so I'll just try, see, that's looking better. I'm taking that, if I go right, it'll take me even redder, but now it's going to go, just knock a little bit of the redness off that deer. There's just a bit too much on there. So that is looking quite nice. Now to help with separating the animal, I'm just going to, it's just a little bit too bright in this foreground. So same again, it's just a quick, that'll be a quick one just to do a quick, just add another filter, and it's going to be another graduated. We'll just drag that up from there, and we'll just knock the highlights down on that. Just slightly, not a lot. I'm going to go back to this background. I'm just going to knock the micro contrast down on that. Slide it. And I might even go in I don't know why it says I'm working on that, because I'm not. I'm working on mask 2, hopefully. I want the micro contrast down. I can even knock the lens sharpness down. I don't want to sharpen that background really. I can up the noise reduction. I don't think we're too far away now. Just having a quick look. That there's a couple of distracting. I don't like that bright bit of foliage there, so I'll just use the heel tool just to get rid of that. I do like to, if I've got a bit outside of the crop, I do like to use that just so you're not going to get repetitive sort of patterns. There's another one there that I might actually get rid of too there. No, I'm not looking too bad at all. The next thing I'll look at, if you've I forgot to mention actually, with the colour rendering, you do have to have film pack installed to use a lot of these renderings. You won't have all the film renderings if you haven't got film pack installed. And another thing that I was just going to get to is on the effects. I use the creative vignette quite a lot, just to sort of darken the outside of the image. It just draws your eye in towards the deer. So that's another thing you do have to have film pack installed to do that. You can do it with the control point. It's just easier with the film pack and the creative vignette. So we've gone from the original image like that, and we've taken it to that, that is more what I saw out in the field. That is what I saw like that. I'll just have a quick look through the loop. Yeah, so yeah, with the noise reduction and sharpening's done well there on the deer and in the background. So same again, we've gone from the original image like that, we've gone to that. another image to do. This will be a very quick one. Same again. I found with this image that I did like the rendering for the negative film. That I liked the same rendering on this, which was the Kodak Portrait. I'll just show you before and after. I just liked the way that looked. If anything, it might be a little bit too red, but we can sort of deal with that as well. It's the same again. This is going to be a very quick edit. Not a lot needs doing to this. So we'll go something like that for the crop. Turn the smart lighting on, see what that does. See, this time I don't really like what the smart lighting's doing on this image, so I turn that off. I think this time it might be the mid-tones that need lifting a bit. And same again, I'll just go into my local adjustments. This time I'll just drag an area. I think that'll pick the deer up. That was a bad idea. We'll try it picked a bit of the grass up then, so we'll try the animal mask, see how that does. Yeah, that's done a good job. So I don't think I'm going to do anything, but I like the way the background is, so for this I'm just going to add a bit of mica contrast to the deer, and I might even darken the mid-tones a little bit just to make it pop from the bright grasses around. And then in this foreground I'm just going to add another mask, and I'm going to use a linear this time, a linear control line. What's good about the control lines compared to the graduated filter is you can pick sort of what it affects. So if I pick on a bright area, and then you've got like a filter there, so it'll only pick the brightest areas. I can sort of tell it what I want it to. I only want you to work on the very brightest areas if I've picked on the bright area, or if I pick on a darker area with this picker, that's same again. It'll sort of pick the darkest area. So it is a bit better to use for the than the graduated. Like for this area, just going to do that, and I'm just going to drop the highlight slightly. It's just a bit bright down this bottom, and then maybe same again, a quick vignette. So we've gone from that to that. This is where you have to sort of walk away and then come back later, because your eyes sort of adjust to colours funny. So I might come back and maybe it might be a little bit too red, but it's really hard to tell now. I'd have to walk away and leave it for a while and then come back. Looking now, maybe in the background I could sort of lift the shadows a bit, which would be easy to do. I've already made a mask of the deer, so I could duplicate that mask and invert it, and now all that's going to be picking is the background. I'll just turn off what I did. I want to do the opposite on this mask. I want to lift the mid-tones and the shadows a little bit, and maybe even knock mica contrast down a bit. So we've got something like that. And that is where, as well, where I was saying it might be a little bit too red. This is where we could knock the redness down on them grasses in the background. So we have something like that. So there's a couple of quick edits. Just you know, don't be afraid to use these different. If you've got film pack installed, don't be afraid to use the different colour renderings. They can come in quite useful. It is good if you do it on this panel. You've got colour positive films. You've got loads of sort of things you can look at. You know, you can just scroll over them and see what the renderings are going to do. You can use it more artistically if you want. It's on my wildlife. I don't really like doing that, but for other sorts of photography. But like I say, for raw deer, I have used it a few times. The Kodak Portrait. So that's a couple of edits done. So going forward, if you have got any suggestions of what you'd like me to look at, I'll certainly think about doing them. And from now on, I'll just be doing one a week. It'll probably be a Tuesday or Wednesday I publish them. So right, thanks a lot for watching. Bye.